going into my basketball. Every time I rock, man, this is how we rap and raw. Peace to my man, now we got the camera out. Every time I spit it, cross over the...
All right, hello everyone. This is Josh, also known as Yashu, and you're tuning into episode 47 of the TLOY Talks podcast. You know, you could definitely check it out on all other platforms too, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, much more too. I already explained this so many times, but let's get it started right now. And we have one of the most up and coming artists in the building right now, who recently dropped a song called Amend, and has also another collaborative song called Weird Science with Mellow Griffith. He's opened up for the likes of Dax, Dizzy Wright, Classified, Mad Child, and much more. We have JesseTheDreamer on the pod. How are you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, man. I think the last time, we spoke about it last time too. The last time we actually interacted, I actually shot a concert one day that you were opening up for Dax with your group and all that.
Yeah.
And basically, just kind of interacted from there, and then we didn't start really fully interacting until right now and all that. And
yeah,
we finally had to get it started for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the perfect place to do it.
Yeah,
you can ask all the questions you need now.
Yeah, man. We definitely have to get it started right now too. So I know that we spoke earlier. I know that you said you grew you were coming from Ajax.
Yeah.
But was that the first place of birth, or where did you grow up, and what was the environment for you growing up?
No, so I actually grew up in Oshawa.
Oshawa.
I mean, I was born and raised in Oshawa. I lived there pretty much my whole life, until pretty much when my girlfriend got pregnant, and we moved out, just the three of me and her, and we moved to Pickering at first, and now we're in Ajax now, but. Everywhere is expensive, man. So I mean, we might end up back in Oshawa. We might end up anywhere, but I mean, it's Ajax is okay for now. It's quiet.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I mean, Oshawa too. What's crazy? I actually went to school in Oshawa back then, called I went to UIT and all that, and I think with Oshawa, it has an interesting reputation too, especially with the south side and all that too, and then with the north side. I mean, with the south side being drug dealers, addicts, all that type of stuff, and then the north side being middle class families, college, university students, and everything else too, and downtowns, just in the middle as well too. But I noticed with Oshawa, I was watching this on another podcast that they had a great metal punk scene, and then they've had good local shows and all that too. Chris, engineer, the audio video guy and the owner of the place, who he also DJ'd around various places too, in Oshawa too. And they had a great live scene back then too. So was it big for music at the time growing up?
I think growing up, when I first started getting into music, it wasn't that big of a music scene. I mean, dating back to when I first started making music, I was I want to say it was probably grade 8, grade 9, and it was just for fun, a lot of the time back then. The first time I actually ever did make music was we did there was some sort of competition where everyone was making their own freestyle, and I ended up putting my freestyle through, and people started kind of liking it, and that was kind of the initial time I ever made music. But I didn't really notice a scene for hip hop music, I would say, until I think until I started really working alongside other people, I think was the biggest time. All through high school and stuff. I mean, I did talent shows and stuff like that, but there was never no big hip hop scene that was looking for local young guys like me at the time, for sure.
Yeah, because I know they've had concerts at the music hall and all that, and now with another venue called Biltmore, I think Theater and all that, and then I think back then they would scope out other artists from other areas too. It wouldn't really be getting those Oshawa acts up there and all that. So I mean, I think back then there were some artists that I might have noticed too, within Durham. This guy named I think Mike Boogie and all that, and I think some other people too. I know some De Niro's from Ajax and all that, and this guy named I think Val Merck, who was also from Oshawa, and a whole lot of other people too, known names Daniel Caesar, and also Lennon, Stella. She's actually from Oshawa too, so it is kind of interesting to figure out from there and all that. But in terms of hip hop, I definitely understand in that sense too. So
yeah, I think honestly, it wasn't until I want to say I really started pushing it myself and seeing a community build, and I think that it was something that needed work And I think like the people that I was around at the time, I think that, you know, we really pushed to try and build something. And it kind of showed, because I mean, you started to see bigger promoters within the city and within Toronto start building more parties than local artist shows.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that like it it really took a while to see local guys like start to like put on shows together and build a bit of a community out there.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, in saying that, like, I mean, it sounds all sunshine and rainbows, but I think that there's a lot of politics that go into it as well. Because I mean, everyone's gunning for the top spot at the end of the day, and yeah, it's definitely noticeable. Especially nowadays, I'd say, for sure.
Nah, 100%, and we'll definitely get more onto it like later on, like for the pod. But you know, to speak more on your childhood, like what was it like, and would you say it was like a great experience, or was it like very different?
I had a great childhood. I grew up with both my parents. I grew up with a little brother. I grew up around like some really, really good people. I had some really close friends that I still have today. Yeah, like I literally have no complaints about it. I mean, my parents were definitely very open to my dreams. I mean, like they might think I'm a little crazy now, still pushing music the way I do, but I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to I have such a big support system. My family's always supported me. They've always, you know, like chimed in and told me what they like about my music and what they don't like, and yeah, I have no complaints about my childhood. I mean, like at the end of the day, you know, like being super young, like anywhere you might experience bullies, and I was a bit of a bigger kid when I was super young. I had a speech impediment. I stuttered and stuff like that. So I mean, you know, when I was super young, I definitely noticed like a bit of a hardship, but nothing at home, nothing, nothing when it like where it mattered.
True. And I mean, even at that time too, with the whole speech impediment and like the whole, you know, getting bullied at that type of stuff too. Like, how did you deal with it like at that time too? I don't know if you had like different ways of dealing with it like now, or like, you know, later on versus like, you know, when you first experienced it and all that.
So my parents, like my basically my whole family did speech impediment classes when I was younger. And I mean, it's definitely gotten a lot better than it was when I was a kid. But it's still noticeable at times here. But it kind of feels good because I've never noticed it in music. I've never noticed it in like speaking, and I think that comes with a level of confidence too. I think just to be able to work through it and not really pay attention to it.
Nah, 100%. And you know, to dive more deep into your story and all that, like what were you like as like a kid up until like young adulthood and all that? Like what would like your main character story be like in that sense too, from when you were born till like, you know, now in that sense?
I mean, my interests were like I was a big WWE guy growing up. I've stayed loving it. My dad showed me a lot of different genres of music. I grew up listening to hip hop music, reggae music, classic, acoustic, like everything under the sun. And trying to think what else. I played football, and I mean, I think by the time I was in high school, I mean, I played 4 years of football in high school, but music started becoming a big part of what I was doing. Like I said, like did 4 years of talent shows. And before that, like in like grade 8 and stuff, I was releasing little mixtapes and stuff and just having fun and enjoying it. And I mean, just being creative. And yeah, I think that would be the majority of my story growing up. Like I don't think there was much other than that for sure.
Nah, most definitely. And you know, even before like the whole like music situation too, did you have like an initial like goal or idea that you wanted to do for a career or job, like whether it be like in music or whether it's like something else and all that too?
I mean, everyone in elementary school does the was that thing, like, you know, you type in all your different interests and they tell you your job goals. I don't even remember what mine said. It was probably like an astronaut or something insane. But I not not overly, like not there was nothing that I specifically, I think, had in my brain that I wanted to do. My dad says all the time that while I was growing up I wanted to be a priest. I don't know, I have no idea how or why, but he says that was something that I wanted to do. I mean, I wanted to play football. That was everyone that plays a sport wants to be the it thing.
Yeah.
And then I think, like once I started making music, when I was about 15, I got signed to a little label. They were called Fly Side. They weren't big at all. It was just this little thing, and it didn't last long at all. But even those little moments of being that young, and being excited to make music and feel like it could make it somewhere, was a super cool feeling for sure.
No, most definitely. And like even like with the whole like music situation too, I don't know if this is like around like the late 2000s, early 2010s and all that, when you started to like work more on music, or if it was like afterwards too. Like even like what was like that vibe like to like what were you like listening to like around that time and all that?
Like when I started like really releasing stuff, are you asking?
Like around like 15 to like now and all that.
I mean, back then it was like my biggest influences I think were like the main guys, like everyone was listening to Drake, everyone was listening to like Wiz Khalifa, Mac Miller, all the big names, all the 50 Cent, all the guys that were already established and did it. I had some little guys that were like local that I really loved too. There was this guy named D Pride. He's from Brampton. I believe now he goes by Russell.
Yeah.
But yeah, like guys like him I was listening to way back then. Yeah, man, it was a lot of just making sure that I always stuck to listening to what was mainstream, I think.
Yeah.
And I mean, not that I even knew how to make mainstream music or that I knew how to like do anything real when it came to music. I'm young, I don't know a lot. I'm just kind of having fun rhyming words and trying to say what I feel from the heart, for sure.
Yeah, nah, most definitely, because like even around that time too, it was like very like nostalgic in that sense too, just with the music, just with the culture and all that too. I think it was like more relaxed and all that too. Like nowadays too, it's like there's an incentive just to make music, to make money and all that. Like way back then, it was just to make music, to be creative, to have fun with it and all that too. And I think we could even like acknowledge like Dad Piff, like my mixtapes, like Mixtape Monkey and all
100%.
that, because they allowed the creativity for like these artists to kind of be creative in like what they're doing too. Like Lil Wayne, Drake, Nicki Minaj, Mac Miller, Flatbush Zombies.
I don't know how
Chance
I didn't
Rapper.
say Lil Wayne, because Lil Wayne, Chance is up there, the acid rap album, man. Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, I think that and like you're saying, like I mean, now I think a lot of music, a lot of what we hear nowadays and we see is a lot to do with financial gain.
Yeah.
And I think that comes with a level of politics in music as well. And I think I've reverted back to focusing more on this being something I want to do as an art, and just something that I really love doing for myself. There was a bit of time there where I was making music to make music for like clubs, to party to drink to, all that kind of stuff, and I've really reverted away from that. Because I think that at the end of the day, I'm not being true to myself to not make music how I want to make it.
Yeah, nowadays too, it's like being authentic with what you're gonna do and all that too. And I think more artists should do that. I think the reason why we don't have that as much anymore too is because of the whole like Dad Piff, my mixtapes, Mixtape Monkey not really being a thing as much anymore too. Because now when you go to like Dad Piff and all that, even though it's like a broken like link right now, now you have to like stream the stuff on Dad Piff, or you have to pay money to stream it. It's not like you could like download the mixtape as it was like back then. Downloading it back then too, you get like a free project too, like if you can't afford like $12, or if you can't pay like on iTunes and all that, even though it is good to kind of support too, but like to kind of have like that free thing to kind of enjoy too, you're just gonna enjoy it either way too. And like I think like they even had like the best music back then around that time, like the most creative, the most boundary like less in that sense too. Like everyone was just kind of doing their own thing and all that, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head with that, because I think that that's the biggest thing that I'm realizing with everything when it comes to music nowadays is there's no more doing things just as an art, just as something that you use as an expression. It's something that people use to try and gain from, and I personally just don't think that that's what making music is about, especially for myself.
Yeah, nah, most definitely, man. And we're just gonna get back onto like topic
Yeah.
for a bit too. So, I know that you talked about like getting into music at 15, like being in a label and everything else too. But like, what was like your musical history and background in terms of like your family and friends and stuff? And what inspired you to become like a rapper, singer songwriter, and like even taking your craft seriously?
You know what? I didn't really have a lot of friends back then that were rapping. I had maybe one or two. And I mean, it really just came with the culture. It came with the way that I was growing up and the way that I kind of just was going through my life. Like I think that you meet certain people that might be a part of a different lifestyle than you. I mean, I met a lot of guys back then that were like hip hop dancers and things like that. And then I met a guy who had a little mix board, and we could like record little freestyles here and there and stuff like that. Just fun things back then. It was never anything that I thought back then of taking very seriously. I can honestly say I can't play instruments. I wish I could. My goal is to learn, like I would love to learn how to play like the piano and the guitar and stuff like that. My dad plays the guitar. I even tried to like make beats for a bit, man, and I couldn't even do that. I mean, I think that my craft really comes down to writing and comes down to expressing myself.
Yeah, nah, most definitely, man. And before we get into like the other questions right now too, how did you get your stage name, like Jesse the Dreamer and all that? Like, I wanted to figure out like about that.
So I actually started with a different stage name. I'm not going to disclose it. If people know it, they know it. It was a long time ago in my life, and it was just like it was a fun time, different time. And when I was actually in university, I wasn't making music at the time, and I was really looking to be more about myself. That stage name didn't work with me. It wasn't. I didn't feel like it connected with me. And I really wanted people to know me. I wanted people to know Jesse. And I mean, I thought that, just calling myself Jesse wasn't enough. So I wanted people to know who I am creatively. And I looked at guys like, big guys back then were like Chance the Rapper, people like that. And I was like, you know what? JTD sounds cool. Jesse the Dreamer sounds cool. And then, I can abbreviate that. I can call myself Jesse Dreams. I can call myself different things. And Dreamer is something that stands out to people. The word dreamer, and now seeing people connect it with me is something super cool. It's really cool.
No, most definitely. And I feel like it has like an interesting like tone to it too, because, with dreams, you can make it into like reality in that sense too, or the perspective of a dream can be like very different from the perspective of reality too. So
yeah, 100%.
When people like do like listen to your music, do they feel like they could like enact in those like dreams in that sense too, to feel like what they can relate to, or like would it be more like within that reality of like what they have to like understand in that sense too?
Yeah, I think that the music I'm making now, I'm really looking for people to I want it to be more of an experience than anything is my big thing. Like I want it to feel like a dream. I want it to feel like you can close your eyes to it and kind of go to a different place and see how you feel with the words that I'm saying, and use like the different melodic tones and the different like there's times I go into the studio and like we have like 27 stems because I'm doing different undertones undertones because I want it to feel so
like authentic and all that too, to kind of be encapsulating like within that moment.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you close your eyes, it kind of feels like you're in like an open space. Like I mean in the movie it's a horrible thing, but in the movie Get Out, when he goes to the sunken place and he's kind of floating, I kind of liked that idea of like like floating in nothing, you know, like being able to just be within yourself and being able to feel and experience things for yourself. I mean, getting hypnotized and everything else that happens to him isn't good, but I'm from a standpoint of being able to just kind of float away and drift somewhere for yourself, was a big thing I focus on when I make music now. It's something that I enjoy. I mean, like, you know, when I smoke or anything like that, I like to be able to close my eyes and listen to my own music and be able to feel that, be able to feel like I'm going somewhere. I mean, in the sense of it, dreaming.
True. No, most definitely, man. And how big are you like on like manifestation, like in that sense too?
I mean, I think that there's a level of manifestation in everything. I think that everything happens for a reason. And I think that you can work at something and set your own goals, and it doesn't have to be the success that everyone else sees. Yeah. Like, I don't have to look at music now for myself and say to myself, the end goal is to become a famous rapper true. And you know, tour the world and have millions of followers. I don't have to do that. If I can make music for myself that helps with me mentally, and people can connect with, and my son, you know, my sons too. If my son enjoys it and can dance to it, and my family is happy and supportive of it, that's so much more accomplishing to me than anything else. And I think that's where my manifestation lays, is just making the people around me happy and proud. And yeah,
no, 100%, man. And you know, we'll definitely like even like manifest it like within our goals and in that sense too. Just like getting back into like topic right now, you know, you were like in a rap group called Connected. And how did that come about with like you, Kyda James, and like Off Neil? And how was it like, you know, even being in that group, you know, making music and performing at many shows, and like what was like that experience like?
I mean, it was definitely good. You know, like it had its benefits, I would say. But I also think, like, just honestly speaking, I think that working in a group setting that way can be kind of detrimental to your personal growth. I think that I really didn't start growing as an artist and growing as an individual until I stepped out of that shell and really started working on music for myself, by myself, building things by myself. And I met a lot of really good people through stepping away from that. I mean, like shout outs like James Lean. We talked about Mello. I saw that like Seiko likes your stuff. He's a great buddy of mine. Like I met a lot of really good artists through focusing on my own stuff. And I think that that's really benefited me. And I think it's kind of taught me to be more genuine. I think at the end of the day, it's taught me to be more genuine. I mean, my girlfriend is a musician as well. She's extremely more talented than I am. She can play instruments and sing, and she's definitely way more talented than I am when it comes to those things. And I mean, she's another huge motivation to me, and of course my son, my son keeps me afloat for sure.
No, most definitely. And like at that time, do you ever felt like those people were like holding you back from your growth, like as an artist too, or was it just like the forces and the energies that kind of like held you back?
I think that at the end of the day, working that tight knit, where there's multiple big personalities, one always seems to what's the word I'm looking for? One always seems to lead the rest, I guess would be the best way to put it. And I think that what it does is it just creates almost like a cult mentality where everyone looks to a leader. And I mean, when you have 3 artists and maybe like, you know, like promoters and videographers and singers and everything else, when you have all that and everyone looks to one person, no one else is able to grow other than that person. So I think that, you know, like it feels like a cult mentality, like a hive mentality. And I really just wanted to move away from that. I wanted to be able to focus on myself and grow as a person. And I think that I've been able to do a lot of that in the last few years, for sure.
No, most definitely. And I think just to kind of end off like that topic for a bit too, like how was like working with those two like, and what were like some things that you might have learned from each other that like you implement in your music today?
I mean, everyone makes super different music, I would say. All three of us make very different music. I think that at the time, like I'm saying, like everyone, you know, when you work that closely, everyone seems to start to make the same type of music. And I think towards the end of us working together and I was started to make a few more singles, I really started to hear my sound outside of what the collective sound was.
True.
So I think, you know, I learned a lot from a space of saying that it benefited us by giving each other exposure. It benefited us by allowing us to experiment and do things new. But I don't think as an artist I was able to grow, and I think that I stayed pretty stagnant in the music I was making then.
No, most definitely. I mean, I know that we've talked about like your creative process too for a bit, you know, just with like using like the undertones too, and like just like catching a vibe too. But what's like your creative process like in other aspects, like when making music, and like what would a day in the studio be like for you?
So I mean, we used to do these pretty cool sessions. Shout out Alex Thompson. He's dope. We used to do big sessions over at the studio. He was an engineer over there, and we would have like me, Mello, James Lean, Othniel. We'd all get in the studio and kind of do these big, you know, bang out after bang out sessions. And that's where Weird Science came out of.
True.
Weird Science was like literally on a whim. I went in, recorded the first part. Mello popped up to the studio, and I was leaving the booth, and I said, "Yo, go in there." And yeah, that's how that got made. So I mean, we were doing that for quite a while, and then I kind of realized through that it's fun to do that. But I wanted to move more into, like I said, like my creative process. And my creative process is me by myself. Maybe like one other artist or one other person that can like give their opinion on what I'm doing. But I like to just be by myself with an engineer in the booth. I spend a lot of time with my eyes closed while I'm actually recording. Because like I said, I'm looking for those undertones. I'm looking to be able to hear other things than like what the common ear would hear, you know, like I want it to feel bigger and more full. And the best way to do that is just working by myself.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I mean, I've had this guy named NLN like a long while back too, and we even talked about this like whole process of like home studios versus like professional studios. And you know, he mainly records at a home studio at his home and all that, like in Ottawa, and basically, you know, he has like this planned out process on how he does his music and how he like follows upon like a schedule and all that too. So, you know, in recommendation, have you ever felt like, you know, using a home studio at your crib might be better than, you know, recording at a studio, like, you know, just with you and the engineer and all that?
I think that, you know, growing up, I had my own little studios in my parents' basement. I turned a closet, literally surrounded by coats, in a closet. Me and my dad cut a hole for a mic, and I wrapped in a little closet there. But something that I always say, and like we were talking about earlier, how like nowadays it feels like music's a lot about finance, like financial gain. I always say that like when it comes to working with people, I want to be able to trust people's creative process. And I'm an artist at the end of the day. I'm a hip hop artist. I write lyrics. I enjoy the creative process of what I do when it comes to making music, but I'm not an engineer. I'm not a producer. I'm none of those things. And once you develop a good relationship with a good engineer and a good producer, you can then start trusting their craft. And that it's just not my craft. If I knew how to do it all, 100%. 100% I would be at home every day making music by myself. But I just don't. That's not my forte. And I think that I can have confidence in myself and say I make really good music and I really enjoy my music. And I think that a part of the game, a part of the process, a part of the community is being able to have an engineer be able to say the same thing about themselves, a producer say the same thing about themselves, someone who makes artwork to say the same thing about themselves. Like I want everyone to feel like they're a part of the process because that's what they spent time doing. I didn't spend time doing that.
Yeah, no, 100% too. And I feel like it is like different for everyone too. Like, as you said too, I think with some people, if they have like that capability too, like, you know, to go for it and all that, I know if others, it's like, you know, building that community of like-minded individuals that can work out from there. And I could like definitely agree with your formation of that idea as well too. So
Yeah, for
man.
sure.
Yeah, man. And to get more into like the other questions too, like what was like the creative process and inspiration for like other songs like Amend and like Sweet Dreams and like Dream World and Mama and all that?
Biggest inspiration, honestly, I have to give a big shout out to Matt Knudsen. Matt Knudsen's he's my producer. He's my go-to guy. I trust that man with my life when it comes to producing. He Me and him kind of met randomly. We went to the same high school. He kind of just started sending me beat packs, and I really started to realize that a lot of his beats, he would send me these initial beat packs and be like, "Oh, tell me what you like out of this," and then tell me what maybe is more in your artillery. And I would say, "Oh, well, I want to make music this way," and he would send me another 30 beats. That way, and then I'd be like, "Oh, this is great," and his beats really inspired me to start making the music that I started to make nowadays. I mean, a song like Mama, shout out to Dan Lytle, that's my engineer. It's him and Alex are both amazing engineers. Dan Lytle made the beat for Mama. I heard that in a studio. Me and James Lee went to a studio together. We laid out a song called Take Me Down the same day. That's out everywhere. And yeah, I heard that beat and I went in. It was supposed to be a song we're going to work on together. I kind of just laid it out again, closed my eyes, really listen to the beat, really feel what I want to feel. Songs like Sweet Dreams, honestly, like I've been sitting on a lot of these songs for quite some time. Sweet Dreams to me was like my baby. It was like my, it was the bread and butter for me because it was exactly the type of music that I want to make because it felt so, it just felt so big to me. You listen to it in headphones, you get a different experience when you listen to it when you're in a car or when you listen to it out loud or on a speaker. Like you get such a different experience every time, and I think that it really the lyrics have a lot to do with who I am every day. But I think the beat helped me a lot with that. But yeah, I think a lot of these songs, like, well, no, for sure, every song that I've made, really just comes from who I am. It comes from me going through trials and tribulations in my life and relating them into my music. And I'm a big believer in talking about and expressing like real human emotions. Like I don't want to talk about like I said before, I was making, you know, like different music back then. I was making club music and like music to dance to and to party to and to perform, and like I don't want to do that anymore. It's not relatable music. I want to make music that when people listen to, they can register with it. They can hear my words and they can really feel it. And I mean, it's the best feeling when people can actually sit there and be able to register with lyrics, you know?
Yeah, no, most definitely. And I feel like the approach you're doing it right now is like good with like the singles and all that too, you know, getting people to like tap in with. And, you know, I want to speak more on that. So, you know, you've been dropping it more than like, you know, dropping like an album or an EP. Do you feel like it's like better to connect with fans that way, or are you more inclined to dropping like a project soon?
So I actually initially in 2018, I want to say, I did release a project. It was my initial project that I had ever released on platforms. Didn't even know at the time how to use like DistroKid properly. Didn't know how to do anything. I was just kind of making music for fun. And that was my initial product that I was able to then go perform with and open for artists with and be able to really enjoy myself with. But again, it just wasn't, it didn't, as much as it would resonate with people when I was like at a club or at a concert or whatever the case might be, it just didn't resonate with what the message that I want to portray. So I ended up getting rid of that, scrapped it. Again, I had another little EP. And I again just was like, you know what? It again still doesn't really register with the message that I want to send. I kept one song from that, kept that out. It's called Wait For Me. It's still out everywhere. And then yeah, this honestly the because all summer, pretty much every month, I've released one single. I was actually building all of these songs to build an album. And then I talked to a few different people. I talked to like my girlfriend, and I really just came to the conclusion of like, I want to build my library. I want people to know the different things that I want to do in music, because every song that I've made isn't the same, and every song that I've made isn't the same vibe. You know, like I have another like the next song I'll be releasing. I haven't set the date, but it'll probably be this month or the beginning of next month. But even that is like that song I'm releasing is so experimental. It's not even it's not even close to what I've done prior to, because I just want to try things. I want to be able to see what resonates with people and see what sticks with people. And I mean, some things that I think might be amazing and the best thing I've ever done might only get 7 plays. But I mean, the best thing that did for me was it helped me through something. It helped me through a place.
Yeah, most definitely. And I definitely understand why like the whole like album process is still in motion too, because you don't want to have like an assortment of songs that are in one project, but like they're different meanings within different styles. I know for some people, like it's better to have like one project where you have like certain songs within a certain theme, you know, or have it like as an experimental project than, you know, even having like all these like different assorted songs. And I think that's like the same for music nowadays too. I think back then, you know, some rappers curate, and like even artists who curate their songs appropriately for that like certain project too, like with Chance's project, you know, Acid Rap, was curated well for people to experience, you know, what being on certain drugs is like, you know, for LSD with shrooms or everything else too, like with Take Care and all that too, you know, the idea of breakup with love, with, you know, getting over like with instant situations too, and even with I think this other project too, I'm trying to figure out with Get Rich or Die Trying by 50 Cent and all that too, you know, just, you know, rags to riches type story. And nowadays with rap, you know, like artists, like I think because the whole deluxe editions too and the pandemic, people are just like putting stuff on one album, but there's like no theme or no motion to it. You know, it's like, you know, I'll have like these 20 assorted songs, and like they're like different vibes and different energies and all that too. And I think one example, I think I might get shitted on this, is that you know, Dirk's project, you know, like, you know, still healing or something like that. And I feel like there were some good songs, you know, that had that good theme, but then, you know, you're gonna have other songs where it's gonna be like the same stuff, you know, killing, robbing, all that type of stuff too. Like even with new music too, like Glorilla and, you know, like Lil Baby and all that too. I feel like there is no message or focus on what this project's all about. It's just 20 assorted songs of like 20 assorted emotions and all that.
Yeah. You want me to be honest with you?
Yeah.
I haven't even listened to Dirk's album. So no, man, like, I fully agree with, like, even what you just said, deluxe editions, man. You got guys releasing 20 album songs and then going, oh, just wait, we got 5 on the way, and it's 5 more of the same music. But again, that is that's all profitable. You know, that's all mainstream stuff. And you know, and I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade, but I think that that a big problem I see with local guys is local guys try and move that way too, where they go, oh, I'm gonna make an album and I'm gonna put 20 songs on it, and I can't wait to release it, and you know, it's gonna be so fun. And you got 20 songs that are the same song, and you know, people are gonna listen to it. Your people especially are gonna vibe to it, but you don't gain anything from that. And you know, like, I might keep releasing music, and some of my music might become relics. You know, it might sit out for years and years, and that's okay to me if it doesn't pop or doesn't do anything, because there's a possibility that next week or next year or 10 years from now, someone's going to hear one of my songs and be able to resonate with it and be able to feel it. And that is more important to me than to do that.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand too. And I think, back then it was just like when you put a deluxe album on, you're putting like 3, 4, 5 songs. Now, like as you said too, nowadays it's like 20 songs. And I feel like Chris Brown is to sort of blame for it too, because I think he was like the first guy, like even before the pandemic, that kind of did all that type of stuff too. And like I think everyone took notice and, different incentive too. And then it kind of shows like with those albums and like even them performing at these like big festivals too, when it translates to actually performing live at a stadium or performing at an arena or at a big venue, like the numbers do tend to show like when it happens too. And we kind of have to like sort of blame the pandemic and everything else too, because, and like even TikTok too, I think because it kind of gave that people the notion that, you could sell out these shows even though you're not at that realm or at that like level yet where you can even do that. It takes time and that process to kind of build it too. And like I think even for like new artists too, like even like new artists that were about to be openers are now headlining theater sized venues like at the Danforth or at History or at Rebel and all that too. And sometimes like the numbers don't translate like very like well and all that, so they have to start like downgrading or they have to start becoming openers instead to kind of build that name accordingly in that sense.
No, 100%. Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And even like speaking about like touring right now, I mean you haven't toured before, but you did open up for like Dizzy Wright, like Mad Child, Classified, and Dax. And how did those like come about, and what was it like opening for those artists and performing with like different crowds and all that?
It honestly just came down to like I guess the best way of talking about it would be like campaigning. Like we at the time, like it was reaching out to anybody and everybody throwing a show, any promoter, anybody doing anything, and just kind of being like, hey, if you're looking for guys, let me know. And I mean, we just we got lucky with some big shows. And I know that we talked about that that we briefly saw each other at the Dax show.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna say, I was waiting until we're on here, but I know that if you're at the Dax show, do you remember there was a guy that crowd surfed?
I think so, actually. I mean, I remembered like that event at that same time too. I think there was like a shitload of people that came on. I think Dax like came into the crowd.
I remember he did a water bottle challenge. He was trying to get people to like chug the water bottle, who could chug it the quickest.
Yeah.
And someone crowd surfed. Well, the guy that crowd surfed was me.
So
true. If you have any pictures of or videos of that, that's me. That was me that crowd surfed with them.
Yeah, I think I have to like kind of find like in my reels too and all that too. But I remembered like that event because I came there. It was like already like crowded too. I think they did the meet and greet at the end too. And
yeah, they did. Yeah.
I know they had my guy Jarrell perform first, and then some guy named like Apollo Ray with like Preston, and then your group and all that, and then I think there was like some other guys too. I felt like there was like this one guy that kind of opened up to like Matrix or something like that, and I remembered back then, this kid had like maybe like 68 followers or like I think 63 like followers and all that, and like he's headlining his own show at like Smiling Buddha and all that, and like he's like DMing the people that sort of interacted with him in some way too, and like I didn't like even like notice at that time, and he was like, hey bro, come to my show and all that, and then I was like, I'll take a look and all that too. And then, several days later, hey bro, come to my show, do. I think like with some people too, like they try to force like people to come to a show, even though it's not like really like genuine, like in that sense too. Like even as a small up and coming artist that is about to headline too. And I think for some people too, like not to shit on like anyone in the parade and all that too, but you have to start off with like genuinity to kind of like build like relations with those people too, to kind of understand like, hey, if you want to come to my show, like let me know and all that too, like I still have the ticket link in my bio, rather than like DMing 100 people like a million times, come to my show and all that. And like it takes time like with that process too. So
I definitely think a big thing that I'm proud of for myself is anytime that we have thrown a show, whether it be as me and a collective of artists, or me by myself, or with one other artist, or planning things. I've always tried to remain super genuine with people because I think it's so important, especially because if you don't treat the people in your community right, like nobody's going to pull up. And if you don't know how to converse with people or keep the people around you that are willing to ride or die for you, then I mean, I think that you're kind of shoot yourself in the foot. And you might have a small collective of people, like I was saying earlier, like talk about like a hive mind, like a cult mind. You might have 5 or 6 people that no matter what stick around you, and whether you guys call yourself a group, whether you guys call yourself a collective, whether you call yourself whatever, ultimately, like if you don't know how to branch out, or how to just be more accepting and honest with the people around you in your community, you fall almost into a trap. You fall almost into, like you're saying, like, I mean, like this guy's DMing you multiple times, but he doesn't really know you. He doesn't really know anything about you. And I think that taking that extra 2 seconds, I mean, you're a prime example of it. You're sitting here saying, you know, like, kind of sucks. Like, he kind of just was hitting me up, didn't really seem genuine, blase, blase. But I mean, if he would have taken that extra 2 minutes to maybe personalize that message to you, make it more genuine, there's a possibility you would have been there, right?
And I feel like with a lot of artists too, like they can, like, you know, captivate that like accordingly too. There are like artists that do have that genuinity to build relationships with the community as well too. And it's always about like, you know, making sure like everyone's like right, like within their own lane and all that too. Like if you are experienced like in some way, or have like a platform, or have something that could help, like with artists, like try your best to like kind of help out in like some way, shape, or form, or show that support too. I feel like with some people too, they expect that whole like fan base, that crowd, that, you know, luxury of like women like around them and everything like that right away too. And like I think even with some people too, they expect like a lot of shit like for granted and all that too. And I've actually met this one guy like a long time ago that he's actually from Oshawa too. Like I'm not gonna make him famous and all that too, but like basically, you know, we did like some video work too and all that, and it just didn't work out at the end. But hearing what he did to like other people too, just, you know, with like having like videographers and producers and everyone else too, like some people, like there were like times when he took stuff for granted and expected people to work for him like for free, rather than like, you know, building a relationship and building a business like partnership and deal like with these people, you know, instead too. And I feel like that's like the problem with like some artists too nowadays, because they expect everything to be given to them like right away, even though that's not like how it goes too. It's like you build the relationship, like if you have to pay, you have to pay too, or if you have to like work with someone within a good budget, like that should be like the right way too. Like don't expect like, you know, everything for like granted, like in that sense too. And
well, I think something that I found crazy was, I'm starting to realize a lot of the time, is there's people that look at communities, especially local communities. I mean, the GTA is not a big, like, I mean, it's a big place, but it's not that big of a place. And I mean, if artists actually cared to work together, actually cared to do things, they would. And I mean, I think that I've heard certain guys and I've seen certain guys where they think everything is about benefiting off of one another. They think that, you know, like, well, if I do something for you, then you've now benefited from me, so now you owe me something. And I don't think that that's how life works. I think that, especially from ground zero, we're all on ground zero. No matter if we think we're the best thing on earth, we are not in mansions. We don't have the money for it. Like, we still go pay for this expensive gas and put $20 in our cars. We still, you know, like, we still pay rent. We still, we still do all those things. And I think that guys are so focused on being like, well, no, like, I'm here, so you need to respect me to a higher level than I'm going to respect you. And I do not think that's fair. I don't like, I mean, I was going to touch on the topic, like, while you're talking about it, and just say, I think that a big problem with, like, the GTA and Toronto, like just Toronto and the GTA everywhere, is that there's gatekeepers. There's guys that have a bit more clout, a bit, they're a little bit more out there than most people, and rather than putting people on and respecting those that have been there since day one for them, or respecting those that have worked alongside them, their big thing is to be like, oh, well, I'm here now, so I mean, for you to get here, you owe me this, or you got to do this. I mean, like, to be honest with you, I'm still DMing like anytime I see like any artist, any Canadian artist, anybody throwing a show in the area, I DM them immediately and I go, hey, you guys looking for openers? Do you need anybody? Is there anything I can do to help? Blah blah blah. I mean, guys like Classified's great. He answers DMs all the time, but he's kind of weird about it, you know. And he's a guy where, again, like, he grew up in the scene of everybody was around each other, everybody put each other up. He made music with anybody and everybody. Guys like him who like are now almost on a pedestal and don't really look at the smaller guys that have 1,000 followers, or, you know, like don't have all the plays. It's really became a like a different world. When SoundCloud was big, there wasn't everybody under the sun having a million followers on SoundCloud and then being like, oh, well, like, I need to work with you now. I need to do this. No, it was a chance. You know, there was like, everybody had a chance to be able to make it somewhere. And I think that chance is starting to get less and less because people are being more selfish about what they've accomplished. And I mean, accomplishing things when it comes to music, at the end of the day, when it's from ground zero, is just being lucky. It's getting lucky and having an opportunity that you took the advantage of and being able to understand and push for. And, you know, like, that doesn't mean you got to give up on people that are like not as high up as you are.
No, most definitely. And I do feel like even with media pages like Six Buzz and Keep Six Solid and a lot of these other ones, you know, it's more like favoritism rather than like, you know, showing support to like local artists and all that too, because I think very like far and few like, you know, media pages actually show love to everyone and like anyone and all that too, and all that, like when it comes to like music and all that. With certain pages, like they'll definitely like have a bias and all that too, like depending on the money, depending on who's like popular right now, rather than, you know, who's gonna be like remembered like within like the next like 5 to 10 years and all that too. And I feel like that is something to like really like focus on, you know, to put everyone on and all that too, because I think like even like whatever you're posting to like on social media, like with Six Buzz, with Keep Six Solid, where it creates like tension rather than, you know, uplift people, like that's where like issues gonna happen, where, you know, they're gonna shoot at you or be like the victim of like gun violence and all that, or, you know, they're getting like your page like axed out and all that too. And I feel like that's something that a lot of like media pages can work on. I don't know about Six Buzz, but, you know, maybe with Keep Six Solid and like, you know, even with, you know, Real Toronto News and all that too, like it is something that they do have to work on, you know, to put everyone on and all that too. And I think like the other ones that do put the other one on are like Toronto Rap Stars, and also like I think Toronto Top 6 and like the Drip Room 6 and all that, those people.
Yeah, see, and I think the biggest thing, I think that point just brings me back to talking about gatekeepers, people that have the opportunity of putting people on, and things become about financial gain and becoming about, oh, well, I've made it here, so now you got to pay up. I mean, there's songs I've released where I'm like, I'm so confident in myself that people are going to love the song and people are going to be all about it. And I'll literally say to myself, I'm like, you know what? Like, let's just see how much they're going to charge. And their pricing lists, man, are crazy, especially with the cost of rent and everything else. Like, it's so expensive for these guys to just, sometimes it's just a story post and they want the most money. Like, but then you got other guys you talk to that are so down to earth, that have the clout, have have all of it and still communicate with you. I mean, like, shout outs to Devontae Woe. I don't know if you know who that is,
Yeah,
but
I know Devontae.
so Devontae's sick, man. Like he's super dope. Anytime I see him in public, like he's super respectful. We DM all the time. He's super awesome with me, and like we've been talking about making music. I just need to get to the studio and be able to lay it out. But you know, like someone like him, he's sat and talked to me about like sharing posts and stuff, and he's like, yeah, like you know, like. And I understand that everyone's got to make their money. I understand that at the end of the day, people got to make their money, but it's about being fair. It's about knowing that you're putting your community on first and not that you need to charge people as much as humanly possible to be able to get what financial gain.
Yeah, no, most definitely, man. And I feel like we've already like discussed more about it, and we'll definitely do some more stuff soon. Just to get more on to like other topics too. You know, you mentioned that you were like a father. Like I know you talked about like your kid who's 2 years old. So like even being a father and an artist, like what were like some things that changed for you when you had a kid, and what were like some things that most people don't recognize or understand when with artists like in the music industry that have like children, like in that sense that they should understand.
Um, Honestly, man, I don't even think it really comes down to just the music industry. I think being a father, first and foremost, I think that people that aren't parents, don't like. There's just a level of not understanding it, and not to say that anyone's lesser or doesn't or is more ignorant. But I mean, like when it comes to jobs, when it comes to friends, when it comes to yeah, music. It comes to all those different things. Like, I think that people can be like just not understanding. But I mean, what I think it's done for me is it's taught me to care more about myself. It's taught me to care more about life when I get home. Life at work. And life when you're out doing things isn't the same when you're at home. Like being home, being with my girlfriend, being with my son, is everything to me. I mean, he's perfect in every way, shape, or form, and it's having a being a man and then having a little boy teaches you that like you gotta teach. Now it's about teaching someone to carry the legacy. And I think that's not I'm not talking about legacy from a music standpoint. I mean legacy from like just being a man, being able to carry his own and be able to protect his life and his family and his mom, and yeah, just be able to be himself. And the only way I'm going to teach him those things is by being true to myself and working on myself.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like nobody's ever perfect. Everyone always can work better on themselves. And I mean, like every day I wake up, I know that I have to do better. And yeah, I really focus on making sure that he's happy, my girlfriend's happy, and yeah, he's 100% the best thing that's ever happened to me for sure.
Yeah, no, most definitely, man. And just to kind of end off on these like last few questions, what do you have next in terms of like any music or creative projects and so forth?
So I have a couple more songs that I'm going to be releasing. I have a song coming out, like I said, this month or the beginning of next month, and then one more that's planned to release, and then I have about like I want to say 25 songs that are sitting in the background. I'm just kind of holding on to that. I'm slowly gonna plan and release. But I mean, my goal right now is one a month. One a month is doable for me, and I mean, it helps me build traction, helps me build my catalog, and just keeps people interested for sure.
Yeah, man, no, 100%. And I always like ask this for like every artist, like for people like to tap in with too. I'm starting to do it more like within this year and all that. So like name like 3 songs in your catalog that you would recommend to anyone that wants to hear you for like the very first time and all that too, that they have to like tap in with.
So 3 songs. Damn. I mean, everybody loves Weird Science. I mean, you sat here and said that Weird Science is great, and I mean that's. I love that. I love that people love it. A big song that I didn't realize people were gonna love, but people love is Mama. People seem to really like it. And I feel like I got to give you 4 because Crazy World to me is a great song that I made, and I really love it. I genuinely love that song. And my baby, like I said, Sweet Dreams. Sweet Dreams is like the song that moving forward, the more music you're going to hear from me is going to sound a lot like Sweet Dreams.
Oh, true. Nah, most definitely, man. And where can they follow you on like social media and all that too?
Yeah, so my socials is Poppy Dreamer, PAPI Dreamer. I'm there. It's Instagram. I think TikTok is the same. And then on all platforms, it's Jesse the Dreamer, JESSETHE Dreamer. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Nah, most definitely. And any closing remarks you'd like to say?
No, just shout out to everybody that's supported me. I'm like super grateful for where I am today. I think that everything happens for a reason, and I mean, it's been super dope to be able to sit here and kind of express who I am and everything that's happened in my life. I mean, shout outs to all my boys that have had my back, and yeah, shout outs to my girl and my little boy and my family, and yeah. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
Most definitely, man. Jesse, thank you for coming by, man.
Thanks, bro.
Just kind of had to get you on here. It's dope to have you on. It was like a pleasure to have you on to share your story, to share your journeys and like everything else too. And we'll definitely have you back on soon and all that to speak more and all that on like a wide variety of topics and all that too. And this is Josh, also known as Yashu. You can get it on all of the platforms when it's released and all that. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout, much more too. And I'm just gonna have to like close it off right now, but Josh, also known as Yashu, Jesse the Dreamer, TLOY Talks, episode 47. I'm signing off right now.
Take it easy.